Welcome. We're going to have a look at the youngest person to ever beat a Grandmaster, and that was Awonder Liang at the age of 9 years, 3 months, and 20 days old. Now, he beat Larry Kaufman in 2012. Now, Larry Kaufman was a Grandmaster who received his title not in the usual way by getting Grandmaster norms, but by winning the World Seniors Open, and he was awarded that. So, Larry Kaufman didn't get it the normal way, but he was a very strong player. He had a peak rating of 24-24, so certainly not to be sneezed at. But that doesn't lessen Awonder Liang's victory in any way, because Larry Kaufman was a recognized FIDE Grandmaster. So we'll have a look at the game, and it starts off with e4 by Awonder, e5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, e takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight takes c6, b takes c6, e5. This is all standard theory. Queen e7, queen e2, knight to d5, c4, and if any of you play the Scotch, this is probably right around where maybe you're coming out of book. Knight b6, not the correct move. Bishop to a6 is the best move. Then we get knight e2, developing the knight and also protecting your pawn here, which means you can think about supporting this pawn and moving your queen away from having to look after this pawn. Then we have a5, bishop b5. Then we have queen to e4. Now this is an interesting inaccuracy, because basically you're losing a tempo by doing this. Because black can play d5, and when you take with the c pawn, when they take back, you're gaining a tempo on the queen. You can check here, which is blocked. You take, queen takes, and now you have to drop back. So you end up losing the tempo this way after bringing your queen out. But it wasn't punished in the game. The game continued with g6. And then we had bishop to d3 and bishop to d7, putting some extra pressure now on this pawn. So what does Awonder do? Well, Awonder goes knight to f3, which is a mistake. Computer wanted you to castle, and that way, if it gets taken, you can bring your rook up behind and you've got a battering ram. So that's why that was a mistake. You could also have played, of course, f4. Then we had queen to b4 check. We had the knight back to d2. Then we had castles, and rook to e8, putting pressure again on the pawn. Knight to f3, again trying to protect the pawn. Awonder desperately holding onto it. And now we have this d5 move by Larry Kaufman. We have best move queen to h4. Then we have knight to take c4, takes the pawn, bishop takes knight, queen takes back, and now Larry Kaufman is up a clean pawn with another pawn under pressure. So obviously he would like to, if you could, trade off the queens here, but instead we have bishop a4 protecting the pawn and stopping the queen trade. Bishop to d7 by Larry Kaufman, developing and also connecting the rooks on the back file. We have rook to ac1, queen to b4, and then Awonder plays a bit of a weird move, a3, attacking the queen but just giving up a straight pawn. Yeah, very strange, but even stranger, Larry Kaufman doesn't see it and goes back, maybe trying to stop a trade off here or something. Not very clear what he was doing. And then we had rook to e1. The reason that this is obviously a miss under chess.com's new thing, and basically the idea of it is that if you had put your bishop here, you're opening up the scope across the board and not allowing this pawn push. So that's why it's recorded as a tactical miss here. Then we see that Larry Kaufman puts c5. Now we get bishop to g5. The idea is clearly that he wants to get in here as an outpost, and Larry Kaufman does the best move, which is attacking that free pawn on b2. And then we see that Awonder plays bishop to f6. We get c4, bishop to d4, bishop e6. Then we get queen to a7. And the computer has this as +3 for Larry Kaufman. So he's on top, as you'd expect. We get c5. We're getting this pawn storm coming down the board with two connected pawns and with a passer in the middle of the board. For some reason, Larry again doesn't want to take this and say this is the best move, an excellent move, but best move as well would have been to take the free pawn. Doesn't like that pawn for some reason, or maybe he particularly likes it, that's why he's not taking it. Then we have rook to c2. We have rook e8 attacking the queen, and Awonder now goes to c7. Rook to c8 attacking again, and here we have bishop to f6. Now this is an inaccuracy, and one reason we're going to find out, because when Awonder takes pawn back here, now obviously your king's got back rank issues. But Larry obviously is thinking, I'm up a pawn, so what I'll do is I'll just try and trade off the queens here, and grind out a victory. But he's also attacking, as you notice here, the pawn here. So that's what he's trying to think: force the queen trade, or I'll win your pawn. But here Awonder plays a brilliant move, basically the only move to keep him in the game. Can you see it? I'll give you a couple of seconds, or you can pause the video. So the brilliant move here is bishop to e6. Brilliant move. Now the idea is that you can no longer take the queen, because the rook takes, and that means you just lost a piece for nothing, which means you have to take the rook back. So we get pawn takes. Now you take the pawn back with the queen, so you get a bishop and a pawn for a rook. You get a check. Now the king comes out. It should have gone into the corner, and here we have knight to g5. We're threatening checkmate. Now we see the game is completely turned with that brilliant move, and all of a sudden Larry Kaufman, who is in a very comfortable position, up a pawn, he's under pressure here. So we get rook to a7, stopping the mate. Then we get rook to e2. Now we get a blunder, queen to d7. And there's mate and 4 on the board. And we see the correct move, which is knight to h7 check, forcing the queen to have to take, because our king's got no moves, because the knight is checking here and here, and the queen is covering all these squares. So queen takes. Then we have queen takes the rook. King has to go, only move f7, and there is a forced checkmate in 2 here, so let's have a look at that. It goes king to e6, king to f8, and then e8 checkmate. But that wasn't found in the game. What was found was rook to e7, which is just as good, because it's going to win you the game. Rook has to take. Then we get pawn takes, and now we're left with a very difficult situation here for Larry, because if he takes the pawn, well, then you're going to get checked. You're going to lose your queen, and if you don't take, it's going to turn into a pawn in its next move. So there is ways of trying to defend it, but ultimately the game is completely lost here. So that, Larry Kaufman takes, just resigns actually in this position. There's nothing to do, and the game is over. And with that, Awonder Liang became the youngest person at the age of 9 years, 3 months and 20 days to beat a Grandmaster.